All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Baseball. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Steve Cashin. We're going to go over FAU Baseball real quick because I've been calling the games. They're on the YouTube channel if you want to check them out. We've been doing the live streams with FAU already. I've had a great time doing it, with certain announcers at least. And I'm here with Steve. So you've been on your phone, whatever, TV, whatever you can watch the FAU games on because, you know, they're not on TV. Sometimes you got to put it on a laptop or whatever. And you will be coming down for the Miami game. So if you listen to those games, Steve and CJ will be calling the Miami game. And then we'll see if Steve's doing any after that. But how have you liked the Owls this year? We're 6-1, and FAU's ranked number 21 in the nation by D1.
Yeah, it's about damn time, right? We kind of spoke it into existence before we had Hardigan on for one of our Strictly Baseball pods, and that was a great conversation we had with them. And it's a long time coming. We've been ranked before, obviously, but it seems like these past few years, winning 40 plus games, and you don't get the national respect. But I think beating UCF, taking 2 out of 3 from them, go to FGCU, win convincingly there. And then you took care of business against Seton Hall in 3 games. I don't think there was a moment, except for game 1, where they had the lapse there where it was 9-1 or 9-0. And I checked the TV and I'm like, it's 9-9. But it happens. It's baseball. They took care of business, and it's well deserved. Number 21 in D1 poll. So big matchup tomorrow against Florida, but we'll get that in a second. But these Owls are impressive. They can hit. You tweeted out at the baseball team, congratulations. You know, this team can out hit anyone in the nation. It's just now it's figuring out the bullpen. We talked about it before we got on that these freshmen are getting put into situations late in games, and they're going to give up runs, but that's the soft spot of this team right now. And if that's our main issue, I'll take it because starting pitching's been solid. Hitting, they can score 10, 20 runs. We've seen it against UCF. So some really good things from them. And a team we just took 2 out of 3 from just beat the number 1 team in the country in Ole Miss. So things are going on all cylinders for this Owls team. And it's really exciting right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could focus on the hitting all we want. I mean, 1 through 9, that lineup can hit. They got guys on the bench that can hit. It's a deep team. But pitching-wise, I mean, starting pitching-wise, this team's it seems to be fine. Jacob Josie, he didn't pitch this week because he's day-to-day. He was supposed to pitch Friday. But then Jackson Spiller comes in, and 5 innings, 1 run, I think it was. And he found out hours before the game that he's starting. He's been a bullpen guy so far in the season. And then they're like, hey, go out and start, and 5 innings, 1 run. He pitched great. And then the next night, Javier Rivera, that Saturday night was the 9-1 to 9-9 game. Mm-hmm. And what happened was basically FAU scored 8 runs in the inning before. So he pitched 3 scoreless, hitless innings, throwing gas, 95 miles per hour, great breaking pitch. He comes back for the 4th after I think it was like a 45-minute delay because that's how long it takes to score 8 runs. And his control was gone. You know, his location, he wasn't throwing with the authority. So I think if FAU, I mean, very rare to say when your team scores 8 runs, it harms you. But if if he gets quicker breaks in between innings, I think that's a start. He's going 5 or 6. And then Sunday, Matt Sparling, 10 Ks in 6 innings. And that was after he took a line drive, almost hit him in the face. And he went back hard, his leg bent. And everyone's like, is he even going to pitch again? He throws a few warm-up pitches. He got better after that. And he even took another line drive later in the game. We're like, geez, they're gunning for him today. Yeah. But he was pitching really well. It's just the bullpen. And even Hunter Cooley, like they've got Hunter Cooley. He came out through like 5 innings, really good ball on Saturday. They have Adrian Reese. They have Helverson. They have Mike Antenza. There's guys out there that can throw. They haven't even used Hardigan yet. We interviewed him. It didn't seem like he wasn't going to pitch, but he hasn't pitched yet. So I think, like you said, just figure out who the other guys are beyond the 4 guarantees, who you're going with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you hit it right on the head there. Hardigan, we'll see him in outings for sure come down the stretch. I think once you get into conference play, I think as a coach, you don't want to use your bullets up too soon. That's why you're not seeing Intenza as much as we did last year in bulk. But I think he's just waiting. He's like I said, he's waiting to see what he has. And would you rather find out now in the first 10, 20 games of what you have, or come conference tournament time, games that matter like Marshall, Southern Miss, And now you're trying to find out what you got from true freshmen in big key situations. So these are non-conference games right now. They don't hurt you, but they can definitely help you in the rankings, which they have early on. But the games that really matter for this Owls team is when it comes to conference play and getting that number 1, number 2 seed, getting that bye. So I think they're deep enough in the bullpen. They have the weapons to do it. It's just getting these guys ready and in shape. So I think we might see Hardigan come to tomorrow night against UF. It's a big game, number 6 in the country. I think it's not one game you usually say midweek you go sell out, but I think tomorrow, I think you throw all the bullets at them, because if you can knock them off in their place, you said it on yesterday when the rankings came out, that if they beat this Florida team, they'll be top 15. And you go into the weekend playing FGCU, if you have a good 3 out of 4 weekend, you will definitely leapfrog the rankings, because there's teams that are losing all around us. And it's an exciting time to be an Owl, though. We've been saying it's their best team, and I just want to see this team keep growing, and they have a legit chance to do some damage come June, July.
Yeah, and it's totally possible that we beat Florida. You know, most casual FAU fans are like, "Oh, it's Florida." Florida just beat Samford 10-9 yesterday. Like, there's a chance here for FAU. I mean, we're ranked. Samford's not. So we can go in there. I haven't seen the starting pitcher we're throwing out there yet. Maybe it is Josie, and maybe McCormick was like, "Oh, he's day-to-day on Friday." Wouldn't be shocked to see him in there tomorrow, because he's the Friday starter. You kind of want a guy like that in there for you against UF. So we'll see who it is. But with that hitting, I mean, Nolan Shaniel, I don't think they've named awards yet for the week. He could have been Conference USA player again, back-to-back weeks. I mean, this guy's hitting like 500, 15, 16 RBIs, 2 3-run home runs. I think I forget the day. It was either Saturday or Sunday. He had 2 3-run shots in a game. I mean, he looks like he could be in the minor leagues, major league potential prospect type of guy. And, BJ Murray starting to really come on. And, first 2 games struggled a little bit. He's second, third on the team in RBIs. Bobby Morganson, he's been hitting home runs. Mitch Hardigan, who we had on the show, he's been hitting. And we sent him an invite to come on the show. He hasn't read it yet. I'm sure he's super busy this week. So I'm sure we'll get him on again soon. But this offense can hit 1 through 9, and you got 2 catchers that can hit. It's crazy. And Wenstrom's your 9-hitter who has power.
Yeah, and it's funny that we talk about this team day in and day out, and the talent that they have, and people on the outside looking and go, "Oh, it's FAU. Are you guys that good or whatnot?" And I tell people all the time, yeah, this team's sneaky good. No one realizes it because they don't get as much recognition as a UF or an FSU that has that national brand. But I think going into tomorrow night's game, it's definitely a winnable game by any stretch. We were at the game last year with me, you, and CJ. We got the chance to watch that game in person, and it was a tight game throughout the whole 9-inning tenure. I mean, it was up and down. A point there, we took the 5-3. We took a 3-2 lead, jumped right back after going down early. BJ Murray with that moonshot to left field.
Yeah.
And then Florida just kind of grinded us out. And it was 7-3 going into the 9th. Tying run was up at the plate. I think we ended up losing 7-4. But no, this is definitely a winnable game. I think you go in there, guns a-blazing. And I think Josie does start, because you made a great point. He was day-to-day, misses his start on Friday. I don't think McCormick's going to want him going a whole week off without throwing some innings. Even if it's not a full, complete start tomorrow night, I think he throws at least 3-4 innings just to get him back in rhythm heading into the weekend. So I'm really excited. I think we can win this game. I'm not going to make any predictions. You know how I am with that, but I have a really good feeling. I think Florida tends to overlook these midweek matchups, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
We'll see. They're number 6 in the country. It would be an amazing win for the baseball program. Doesn't get enough press. I mean, you go out to the stadium, you see 1993. This dates back to, this team's been winning for a long time, and they just need some respect. Coach McCormick has done a tremendous job. Brian White, the athletic director, just an incredible job. And, the pitching coach, David Kopp, he's great as well. So this team's got a lot of guys that know how to field winners, and they need some more respect. So today we're doing back to Major League Baseball. We're doing our American League Central preview today, and then doing our top 10 shortstops, which I'm sure that one for us, we're going to disagree because shortstops, it's so close that you can go any way you want. And you might be shocked that I put someone on my list. Actually, I did it actually right before the show. Almost vomited. You could probably guess who that might be. But all right, so let's do the AL Central previews. I just made this doc today, so I keep forgetting, man. Like I'm like, oh crap, I actually need to make the doc, and then 2 hours before the podcast, I got to make it. But yeah, next time we do it, I know I said last time we'd have it this time. We're going to do the my dad has like a way of averaging out the stats on Excel and stuff like that. So we're going to do that together and average out stats for the team and stuff like that. All right, so let's start out with the Detroit Tigers. So who did they add? They added Robbie Grossman, free agent from the A's. They re-signed Jonathan Scope. Wilson Ramos, they signed the veteran catcher. They got Reynaldo Nunez from the Orioles, Julio Teheran, free agent from the Orioles, free agent from the Angels, and then Jose Urena, free agent from the Marlins. They let go of CJ Cron, Austin Romine, Ivan Nova, and Jordan Zimmerman. So not guys you're really going to fret over losing. So let's look at that lineup. Robbie Grossman, projected leadoff hitter. Who knows? I mean, with this lineup, you really don't know who's hitting where. It's just I looked at a website, kind of did my own version of it. We'll see how it goes. Jonathan Scope in that 2-hole. Miguel Cabrera still going at it since 2002 in the 3-hole at that DH spot. Heimer Candelario, third baseman cleaning up. Then Wilson Ramos. Nomar Mazara, that's another ad. He'll play right field. In the 7 spot, Reynaldo Nunez, then Jacoby Jones, the center fielder, and then Willie Castro, the shortstop. So, when you look at this lineup, there's really not a lot to look at. Robbie Grossman, he had a decent 51 games. Jonathan Scope, he'll hit power for you. Miguel Cabrera, he'll put together good at-bats. Candelario, though, everyone's, overhyping him. 2019 and before, he was not that great of a player. A prospect who was like, oh, he can do this. He can do this. 2020, you get it in a really short spurt. He played great, but let's see it again. Wilson Ramos, is that age showing? He went from above league average to below. You have Nomar Mazara, 25 years old. He's always been pretty highly regarded, but 2020 was pretty rough for him. 2019, below league average. What can he do? Reynaldo Nunez, I actually like him a lot. 151 games and 19 for the Orioles, 30 bombs, 90 RBIs. 2020, 12 bombs. So this is a guy that can hit for power. Jacoby Jones, not that great of a player, just a league average center fielder. But then Willie Castro, the shortstop, 23 years old, he hit 349 with 6 home runs, 24 RBIs the year before. He had great minor league stats. So there's some upside in this lineup, not a lot, just what you're going to get with a team like this.
Yeah, no, I was lucky enough, speaking of, we're doing the Tigers first, got to catch that Yankees-Tigers game yesterday here in Tampa, and I got to see some of these guys firsthand. And a guy who I liked was Robbie Grossman, the guy that they added in the offseason. He at the leadoff position, I think he works counts good. He yesterday was the first guy that Garrett Cole faced, and he worked the count. I thought he took some great pitches, fouled some off, and then he ended up getting a leadoff base hit. So, I look at this lineup. It's kind of like an island of misfit toys, almost a little bit, you could say. There's some older guys in that lineup, like Wilson Ramos, who's still finding his way in the league. And then you got guys like Willie Castro, 23 years old. So up and down, there's upside potential to this lineup. You got a good manager in AJ Hinch. I hate to say that. Guy's a scumbag for cheating, but he knows how to coach in the game of baseball. So I think he could really put this roster together, and they can win not a ton of games, but I think they'll be competitive. Wilson Ramos had a great day yesterday. He had a line drive base hit up the middle, and he smoked one into the right center gap and ended up getting over the fence there. So I think that the Achilles heel of this team is the bullpen. Yesterday, I think it was, I want to say it was a Castro. I don't know who the bullpen guy was. Lefty. I think it was Soto or something like that. Left-handed guy, throws hard, but he was all over the map. And then in the 5th inning before I took off, Yankees put up a 5 spot. They had a few guys come in and pitch there through that 5th inning, but that'll be the struggling part for this team is where are they going to find pitching depth and get those guys in there. So not a bad team by any stretch. Like I said, they'll be competitive. We'll just have to wait and see once they step on the field in live action.
Yeah, I mean, their closer is Brian Garcia, and he's not a guy that a lot of people know about. And then the rest of your bullpen: Jose Cisnero, Buck Farmer, Daniel Norris, Joe Jimenez. Not great names, so they're going to have to find innings out there for sure. And I think that might help. Let's say, because they have let's look at the rotation because it'll make it easier. So you have Matt Boyd, Spencer Turnbull, Michael Fulmer, Julio Teheran, and Jose Urena. That's right now, because they have Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, and Matt Manning, 3 elite pitching prospects that are right on the cusp. They came up to the big leagues last year. It's kind of one of those things. Teams just do this. It's the service time. So they're going to keep these guys down, say, oh, we want to save their innings. We don't think they're 100% ready yet, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll come up midseason, pitch the rest of the way. Maybe if you throw a Urena in the bullpen, maybe you trade a Michael Fulmer for a bullpen piece, a Matt Boyd for a bullpen piece, because, these guys are none of these 5 guys are going to stick around for the next 2 years. I think they're all gone in 2 years. Julio Teheran last year too, 10 ERA with the Angels. This is a guy, I mean, he was always pretty consistent, not bad like that. So, he's a guy, the Tigers, okay, if he can come back, be a mid-3, low-4 ERA pitcher, we'll like that. Spencer Turnbull, same thing. But Matt Boyd last year, 2019, this guy was a trade target, and then he sucked second half. 2020, 6.71 ERA. Now his trade value is way down, and, they're going to have to hope for him. Come back, do good for us through July, and we'll trade you, get some value. But, yeah, you're going to have to find innings. But I really like their future with Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, and Matt Manning. All 3 of them can end up being great. And then they have some guys in their prospect pool too. So yeah, that pitching is just going to be a disaster this year.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like a bridge the gap deal for these prospects because they have a ton of upside in the prospect pool, like you just said. Skubal, Mize, and Manning, they all have good stuff. It's just manicuring those guys and bridging them to the major league level, because you don't want to throw. Like I said, service time's a big deal in the major leagues, where you don't want to get these guys clock starting right away. And then let's say you throw a guy out there and he's not quite ready, and then his confidence gets shot. Does he have the ability to be confident after that? And that's not something as an organization you want to just really throw into the mix right away. So you can see it through 1 through 5. Matt Boyd, Turnbull, Fulmer, battling injury issues. And then you had Teheran, who had a really bad 2020. So, and then Urena is obviously a decent enough 5th guy. So they're putting pieces together. They're trying to find innings in certain places, and I think it's just going to be kind of a makeshift year for them in terms of pitching. And until they get those prospects to where they want to be, and then you maybe get a Mize into a 2 spot, a Skubal in there. So. You look at it, there's a lot of you can mix and match a lot of things with this Tigers team. It's just they're younger in the pitching side, and it's just how is it all going to mold together come regular season? Yeah,
excuse me, and it's not just that they have pitching prospects on the way; they've got hitters as well. They have Spencer Torkelson, 21 years old. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2020, so this guy's legit. Once he comes up, they have Riley Green, Daz Cameron, Isaac Paredes. So these are 4 bats that they're counting on in the next few years. I feel like with Candelario, even though he's 28, he's going to hit free agency. You have Isaac Paredes, 22 years old, prospect. If Candelario does well first half, you trade him, put Paredes in at third base. You get some more bullpen piece, starting rotation piece. If a Mazara does well, Wilson Ramos, even Scope. These are guys that you just trade to get this value 2-3 years from now. So I think that's just the spot they're in, but they're not in as bad of a spot as, let's say, an Orioles or, Seattle or some team like that. I think they're a little bit more ahead of some of those teams.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm looking at, we do these doc, and it's awesome that you put this together because you can really dive into each stat, kind of dissect each team. Because on paper, you would think, oh, Detroit, they're not that good. But 2 years ago, you would think, where's this organization gonna head? Are we headed towards the bottom of the ocean? Are we headed towards some daylight here? And I think they're in a better spot than most teams on the bottom side, like Seattle, Baltimore, um, even a Kansas City. I think they're better than the Royals. So they have assets. They have pieces they can move if needed, for more assets that they already have. So I think they're in a good spot. They're competitive. I watched them yesterday. They have some athletes. They can get on base, and they can string a few runs together in key spots. So definitely not the bottom of the ocean compared to these other teams on the bottom of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And yeah, I mean, this lineup, they got the bats. We'll see if they trade them at deadline, but they're going to keep them into games. That's all. So, but in this division, there are some deep teams. As you know, we move on to the Royals, and we'll look at who they added. They made the Andrew Benintendi trade. They signed Carlos Santana, Mike Minor, Brad Brock. They brought in Honza Alberto, which I just saw. He's a guy that rakes versus lefties. They brought in Michael Taylor, and then they brought in Wade Davis and Greg Holland again, two guys who were part of that World Series bullpen. So that's pretty cool. But they did lose Miguel Franco, Mike Montgomery, Alex Gordon retired. He's been around for forever. Ian Kennedy, Matt Harvey gone as well. But this lineup, it's actually really good. And when you look at it, so leading off and playing right field, Whit Merrifield, batting second, and playing left field, Andrew Benintendi. They have Carlos Santana in the 3-hole, cleaning up and DHing Jorge Soler, then Salvador Perez, Hunter Dozier at third, Adalberto Mondesi at short, Nicky Lopez platooning with Alberto at second, and then Michael Taylor in center field. So this lineup's really not that bad. Merrifield, 2019, he plays 162 games. 2020, he plays all 60. So this guy, the definition of durable, you do not see that anymore. Guys get their off days. They get their conditioning days. This guy's out on the field every single day. He's an above league average player. He gets on base average wise. He walks. He's got a little bit of power. He steals bases. And he doesn't just play right field. He plays second base, third base, a little bit of first, left field. So he can play all around. And, I don't know, and we'll get to this in a second. I don't know what their direction is, because is he a guy you want to trade? But at the same time, you've got enough pieces in that lineup where maybe you keep them together as long as possible. Benintendi, nice rebound candidate. 2020, he played like 20 games, didn't play well at all. I'm just going to wipe it away. 2019, though, was just at league average, 101 weighted run created plus. If he can go back to 2018 Benintendi, that's an all-star. He was like the best left fielder in the game for a 2-year gap there. Carlos Santana in the 3-hole. He hit under 200, but the advanced stats still there. He walked 350, but hit 199. And the year before, he hit 35 bombs. You got Soler, 2019, he hit 48 home runs. Last year, a bit of a dip. Again, it's 2020. Who really cares? He can hit home runs. Salvador Perez, career year, honestly. 410 WOBA kind of came out of nowhere after years of kind of been below league average offensively. Hunter Dozier at third base, he just signed a 4-year extension. And in 2019, he hit 26 home runs. And then that bottom half of the order is going to be a little bit where it struggles. Mondesi, below league average. Nicky Lopez, not a lot of power, but good minor league stats. Michael Taylor, kind of weak in center field. But I looked this up. Honza Alberto, in 2019, he hit 398 versus lefties. In 2020, he hit 375 versus lefties. So he's a guy, he'll definitely be in there against lefties. But this lineup can low-key rake.
Yeah, no. Now, as I speak of the devil, as I said, now you dissect teams at a deeper level. Didn't realize that this team they're a little bit older. They have some experience too.
Yeah.
You have Merrifield, 32 years old. And like I said, now you reward guys in the league now that play every single day, because most guys take a body maintenance day. All right, I've played 10 games straight. Hey, give me a Sunday day off or a Monday game. I'm not going to play early week. But no, he chugs it out. He'll give you everything he's got. And the production's there. 2019, 16 jacks, 74 RBIs, 110 weighted sprint plate, runs created plus. Jesus Christ, can I speak much?
The tongue tie.
And then in 2020, he had 9 jacks, 30 RBIs. So the production levels there at a leadoff hitter. And you went and got Benintendi, who's won a World Series with the Red Sox. Can he get back to that 2018 form, like you said? Who knows? Because I was a big believer in him. I like his approach to the plate. It's just I think he's going through something right now that just can't seem to get out of that slump. And maybe getting out of Boston was the best thing for him. We talk about changing sceneries, and the pressure's off you in Kansas City. There's no pressure to win. It's just do the best you can to your best of your ability and produce and help this team win. So maybe that'll help him out here, and to move from Boston to KC. So, and then I look at the rest of this lineup, and you have Santana, Soler. I do like on the bench Honza Alberto. I think he can produce a ton. He came from Baltimore, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked him a lot. We were high on him when we did the Baltimore preview last year. He can get on base. He works counts. He's a pain in the ass to get out, and he plays good enough in the field. So having that guy at your disposal on the bench is awesome. I just don't see too many holes in this lineup as of right now on paper. You still have Sal Perez at the dish. He was part of that World Series team. And so I really think you have a lot of vets in this lineup that can solidify the younger guys and help them build their confidence and build them up in the big league. So, I like this KC team a lot. I think them and Detroit are kind of neck and neck, but it's going to come down to the pitching once again. You brought back, you mentioned earlier, Wade Davis and Holland, older guys in the league, but that's experience level. It's huge helping out younger guys that are coming up to the system and maybe first year guys. So, I think for this Royals team, it's going to come down to pitching just like Detroit.
Yeah, and you look at that rotation, it's Brad Keller, Danny Duffy, Brady Singer, Mike Minor, and Chris Bubick. It's really not that bad. I mean, Brad Keller's a guy last year, 2.47 ERA, doesn't throw the hardest, doesn't strike out a lot of guys, just a contact pitcher. No problem with that as long as you get the job done. You have Danny Duffy, not the strongest number 2. I feel like if he has a good first half, that's a guy you trade now, 32 years old, 4.95 ERA last year, strikes out 9 per 9. Mike Minor, same thing, trade type of guy at the deadline last year, 5.56 ERA, FIP a little bit lower at 4.64. But in 2019, he had a 3.59 ERA with 208 innings. So if he can be that guy again, get some value for him. And then you have Brady Singer, 24 years old from UF. Came in last year, 4.06 ERA, struck out 8.5 per 9, 3.22 walks per 9. So if he can get those walks down a little bit, we know he can strike out more guys. And then you have Chris Bubick, a 23-year-old lefty, 4.32 ERA, 8.82 Ks per 9. Again, another guy, just young. He gets those walks down, 3.96, maybe down to 2 something. And the home run's a little bit too high as well at 1.44. And then that bullpen, like you mentioned, that's where you're really going to need some help. Jake Junis, not the best. Your closer, Josh Stallmont, he's okay. Wade Davis, Barlow, Holland, Jesse Hahn. You're going to need some of these guys to click. But I think at the very least, if things go well, I feel like this Royal team, their ceiling is 3rd place, maybe or better than Cleveland.
Yeah, no, they definitely when we talk about these 2 teams to start off, we always go from low to high into the contenders. So, like I said, Detroit and Kansas City, they're going to be they're at the bottom of the division, but they're not going to be as bad as people think. I think the wins might not be there, but they're still going to be competitive. They're going to hit. They're going to give you their best shot every night. I say that about these lower end teams. You cannot overlook these guys because any given night in baseball you can get beat. But looking at this rotation, I'm really high on Brady Singer. He pitched really well last year. I think he's got great stuff. Throws the ball hard coming out of Florida. That was really, when you look at college pitchers and even hitters, any college guy that goes through 3-4 years through a top end program like Singer did. UF has been renowned for years now. That's kind of like your developmental stage in the minor league. So he kind of skipped through that minor league process and kind of went straight to Kansas City.
Yep.
And now you're seeing how that development at UF pitching against the best day in and day out has worked for him. So a young guy along with Bubick, 23 years old. You have 2 young diamonds in the rough there that can really be your 1-2 guys maybe going forward the next 3-4
and even
years.
Keller, 25.
Yeah, and Keller's not. Yeah, exactly. So you have a young rotation. Can you build them up? And can they be what you want them to be? And if they are, that's awesome, because that'll be 1, 2, 3. Go find a fourth and fifth guy down the road once they're developed. And geez, you got a good rotation there. So not the worst rotation by any means. There's a lot of upside there. They can throw the ball. It's just getting the walks and the homers down for some of these younger guys, and then you're right there. So the ERA is a little bit higher than you would like, but that's all part of it when you get in the league, and it's you're not going to come out and be slinging a 2.0 ERA. Not even the best. Garrett Cole he throws around a low 2, so
yeah,
low 2 to mid 2. So that's you're talking about the best in the game. So yeah, definitely a lot of upside for this pitching staff. It's just, can you find those innings in the bullpen at the end of the day?
Yep. And prospect wise for the Royals, number 8 prospect, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., 20 years old, number 2 overall pick. Then they have the number 26 overall prospect, left-handed pitcher Asa Lacy. He's 21 years old. He was a number 4 overall pick. And then they have left-handed pitcher Daniel Lynch, 24 years old, 6'6", has great minor league stats. So we talked about the big 3. Maybe you get Asa Lacy and Daniel Lynch in there, and suddenly you have 5 guys. There you go.
Yeah, no, and this is one of the deeper teams in terms of high-end prospects. You look at the number 8, the number 2, and then you have the number 4. Yeah, there's a lot that are just ready to come up. So I think it's only a matter of time before this Royals team gets back. They've saved their assets. They didn't pull the trigger when they could have the last couple of years, being at the bottom of the barrel. They could have really sold house and be like, we want to win soon. But I think they're just waiting for the time to be right, because they know a lot of teams are getting older and guys will be on the move. So there's help coming, and there's already help there now in that rotation. So give these guys in the system a couple more years, and you're looking at a full rotation potentially.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a fun team to watch. And if I'm a Royals fan, it's like, well, I have reason to watch. I can watch the development of some of these starting pitchers. I know the lineup's going to score runs. So it's going to be a good time for Kansas City. And so we'll move on to the Cleveland Indians. Who did they add? They added Eddie Rosario. They added Ahmed Rosario in that trade for Lindor, along with Andre Simenes. So both shortstops there. They added Blake Parker, a bullpen guy, Billy Hamilton, and Ben Gamble, outfielders. They might not even make the team. They added Brian Shaw. They let him go in free agency to the Rockies a few years ago, bullpen guy. Didn't do so well with the Rockies. Now he's back with the Indians in a minor league deal. And they signed Heath Hembree, who was a pain in the ass with the Red Sox reliever. Like, you knew he wasn't that great, but, he would come in and pitch 2 innings and score, scoreless. And you'd be like, really? We couldn't hit Heath Hembree tonight? That's the first thought that comes into my head about Heath Hembree all the time. And then subtractions, of course, they lost Frankie Lindor, Carlos Santana, Sandy Leone, Tyler Naquin, and Delino DeShields are all out of the door. Remember, at the trade deadline as well, Mike Clevenger gone. So, they're losing some guys out there in Cleveland. So let's look at this lineup. So they have Cesar Hernandez, second base. Decent, he'll hit for average, not a lot of power. Jose Ramirez, this is a guy, we were down on him last year because he went kind of to league average. Last year, he was an MVP. 415 WOBA, 164 weighted run created plus. He was great. Eddie Rosario coming over from the Twins. This is a guy, advanced stats don't reflect him very well. He knocks in runs. I mean, he had 109 RBIs in 137 games in 19, and he had 42 ribbies in 57 games last year, 32 bombs, then 13 bombs. He can hit. Franmil Reyes, the DH, 2019, 37 bombs. Last year, 9. His advanced stats went up on base especially. Then you have Josh Naylor, and this is where you start to kind of be like, okay, this is where the drop-off is. And I start to think, well, Kansas City might have a better lineup here, because you look at Josh Naylor, first base. He's a prospect, but he hasn't really hit that well in the majors. Roberto Perez, I didn't even type out his 2020 stats. They were that bad. 2019, just a little bit below league average. Then you have Andre Simenes. This is where it gets interesting. He had a decent 2020, but he was the number 1 prospect for the Mets. They don't have a lot of prospects, though, so it's a little misleading. Decent minor league stats for him, they hope. I mean, you get him for Lindor, you got to hope that he's something. Then you have Oscar Mercado, 2020. I didn't type his stats in there either. Just went way down from 2019 where he hit 15 bombs. And then center field's a gamble. You have Daniel Johnson, never played in the big leagues, decent minor league stats. We'll see where that gets them. And then on the bench, they have a guy, Bobby Bradley, 107 games in 2019 in the minors. He had 33 bombs. So, but he's a first baseman though. So where exactly does he fit in? Maybe in the outfield, who knows? But that's what the Indians lineup's looking at. I mean, you lose Lindor, that's deflating. Ramirez and Reyes are really the only guys, and maybe Rosario that I go in there and I'm saying, you got to watch out for him. I honestly think Kansas City's lineup is better.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this lineup because we still got, I think, the two gems of the division, in the Sox and the Twins. So we'll kind of breeze over this one. I think the drop off with this team was Lindor. I mean, obviously up and down, but he's a good talent at shortstop, and you lose to Shields too. But I just don't see a whole lot how this team's going to score a ton of runs.
Yeah, and Santana as well.
Santana. So when you look at going from the 5 spot down, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, you have Naylor, who's all right, young guy, young kid, Perez, and then you look at Mercado, who really 2020 just not a whole lot there. So where you can get run production from? He
had negative 11. Yeah. Wait, what is that?
I was going to ask you. I was like, is that a typo or is that actual true? I'm like, so a negative 11 weighted runs created plus. I mean, that's unreal. It's pretty hard to do. So I look at the strong suit of this team. If they want to be anywhere near the pack, is the pitching. The hitting kind of speaks for itself in terms of volume and stats. You have Shane Bieber, Plesac, Savale, and from there, I think that's your strong suit is 1 through 3. And can your pitching help you stay afloat, or are you going to be in there with the Royals and the Tigers? So I think those two teams below them have a legit chance to eclipse them this year or be above them in terms of third place, because if you look at 1 through 9, I think that, like you said, made a great point. The Royals, I think, have a deeper lineup than the Indians right now. So, but it's all hearsay. We could say what we want about these teams, but let's see it in real action. But I saw you put down the Cy Young winner in Shane Bieber. So yeah, he's unreal. It just sucks that he's gonna have no help this year. But I think he'll be a horse like he was last year.
Yeah, I mean, 14 strikeouts per 9, 1.63 ERA. Didn't do that versus the Yankees in that little wild card game, but and then you got Zach Plesac in there, 2.28 ERA. The thing that interests me about him and what I like to see from young pitchers, he goes from 6.85 Ks per 9 in 19 and 9.28 in 20. And then he went from 3 walks per 9 to less than 1 walk per 9, and his home run rate went down. I really love seeing that from young pitchers. And then, so they're 4 deep in that rotation. 5, you can go either Logan Allen or Cal Quantrill, whatever they decide to do, maybe Adam Plutko, someone like that. And then prospects-wise, they have the number 38 third baseman Nolan Jones and the number 92 shortstop Tyler Freeman. Jones kind of blocked by Ramirez. Do they trade Ramirez at this point? Tyler Freeman, I think they're going to try out Jimenez first, but just kind of mediocreville in Cleveland. So let's go to Chicago and look at those White Sox. So they actually have the same record as the Indians last year, believe it or not, 35-25. But they added Liam Hendricks, the best reliever in baseball. They brought back Adam Eaton after a few years in Washington. He went over, won a ring, and is going back to Chicago. They brought back Carlos Rodon, and they brought in Jonathan Lucroy to be their backup catcher. So he used to be a top 5 guy. Now he's a backup. Subtractions, they lost Alex Colomé, James McCann to the Mets, Nomar Mazara, Gerard Dyson, and Delmonico left as well. So that lineup, Tim Anderson, I mean, what can you say about this guy? Just a 300 hitter at this point, 320 and above hitter. Advanced stats went up. He's hitting for power. Love him. Adam Eaton, right fielder. Down year in 20. He's a vet, though. I think he can come back. Yasmani Grandal, top 3 catcher. Jose Abreu won the MVP, 60 ribbies in 60 games with a 4.11 WOBA. Eloy Jimenez went up last year, hit 300, 14 bombs, 41 ribbies. Advanced stats went up. 24 years old too. Then Moncada, a bit of a down year, but he's 25. Year before was really great with a 315, 25 bombs. Then Luis Robert, he was a top 3 prospect in baseball going into the year last year. I think he's a top 10 center fielder. Even with that, he hit 230 with 11 bombs. On base a little low, but he's 23. Give him some time. Left field is their only weak spot with Adam Engel. Kind of just a bench guy who had a good 35-game stretch. And then Nick Madrigal, number 36 prospect in baseball at second base. One of those guys, not a lot of power at all, but he hit 340. So that's what he can give you out there. This lineup's just going to hit.
Yeah, and I think they were one of the winners of the offseason. In terms of, you got Liam Hendricks, you got, Adam Eaton. I think they solidified what they did last year. They're going to be a team that's going to hit. They can pitch with Giolito, and obviously now you have Hendricks. Looking at that roster real quick, Dallas Keuchel in there at the 2 spot, Lance Lynn. You have Cease in there as well. So they're the all-around complete package. I think when you look at it on the outside looking in, if you're not a fan of the Central, if you don't watch this division as much, but this team will give you a ton of runs. So like the Twins too, almost the identical carbon copy of each other. They're going to play the same way. I think the Sox have the edge in pitching right now. I think they will throughout the year.
They might. Yeah.
You look at it 1 through 6, and that's pretty solid. Anderson, Eaton, Grandal, Abreu, Simenes, and you got Moncada. So I think it's a solid 1 through 6, and then obviously 7 through 9 you can mix and match with your bench. You have Madrigal and you have Engel. So I mean, you could do whatever you want with that bench and throw guys in. It depends on where guys are fitting in terms of how the season goes. But 1 through 6, you have a solid punch there, and they're going to score you. I think on a good night, you're scoring 6-7 runs, and I just don't see how you're going to slow this lineup down a whole lot. So
yeah,
definitely, I think they're my favorite going into this year in the division. Even in the American League, I think they were forced to be reckoned with. So I think they won the offseason. It's on paper. We've seen this with many teams before where they go out and get these guys. Now, can you produce what you did last year and do it again? So, but I have a ton of belief in this team for sure.
Yeah, and Robert too. Like, he can end up being the leadoff. Well, maybe not with Anderson there, but he can end up moving up in the order. Then you got 1 through 7. Madrigal at 340, and he's a top-rated prospect. So if 8 out of your 9 can hit, who cares if left field's weak? And that rotation, I think 1 through 3 are solid. And we talked about it last year. I mean, I remember our conversation. We were like, we're kind of worried about Keuchel going to the AL Central because you're going to the Twins facing all those righties. His home run rate went from 1.28 per 9 in 19 to 0.28 home runs per 9 in 20. So maybe he listened to us, you never know. But He's like, hey, I can't give up home runs. 1.99 ERA. Just a solid guy. He keeps doing it at 33 years old. But they're going to have to figure out 4 and 5 because Dylan Cease, this is kind of their last whack at him, 25 years old. His ERA was at 4, but his FIP was 6.36. So that concerns me a little bit. Remember, that stat means basically if you had if you take away the pro guys you have on defense, that's what your FIP that's what your ERA would actually be is over 6. And he doesn't strike a lot of good. Well, his strikeout rate went down, but his walks are crazy high. He had 5 per 9, almost gave up 2 home runs per 9. They're going to need him to come back. And then they got Rodon and Lopez, both not looking too hot in that 5 spot. They also have Kopech, who's the number 18 prospect in baseball. From what I've heard, though, with all the injuries, they're just going to put him in the pen this year, which I don't get. Just throw him in the rotation. The dude throws 100 miles per hour. Just put him in there. So I don't get that one. So we'll see what they do with him. But that bullpen, it's not just Hendricks out there. They got Aaron Bummer. I mean, under 1 ERA, 13.5 Ks per 9. Fantastic year if you're pitching under 1 ERA. Then you got Evan Marshall. Jace Fry can throw a little bit of innings. So bullpen's not strong necessarily, but 7, 8, 9, if you can give me Fry, Bummer, Hendricks, that's not too bad. Yeah,
no, I looking at the starting rotation in the bullpen, they have strong suits in every on each side. You have 1 through 3 is really solid, and then you have a drop off at 4 and 5, which not every team has a complete package with the whole rotation. I mean,
yeah, the Twins don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they still don't have that yet either. So there's no time to panic. I mean, there's young guys who never know who's in AAA ready to go. Can you call a guy up and if he's ready? So I look at, this bullpen's good enough. Like you said, get to 7, 8, 9, and it's solid enough. Get to Hendricks, give him the ball in late in the game. So I think they're in a good spot coming off the offseason. It's just, like I said, it's them and the Twins that really have the identical shape and lineup that I think it's going to be a battle between those two teams coming into late September, early October, who's going to be the crown champion. And I can't really tell you who it's going to be. The favorite I would say is Chicago. That'd be my pick right now, but I'm never going to count out the Twins with their lineup and their ability to rake as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on the White Sox. I think they are a better team than the Twins. And real quick before we move on to them, Andrew Vaughn, number 13 prospect in baseball, right-handed hitter, first baseman, 22 years old. I feel like if he starts rising up the minors, maybe you DH Abreu, put Simenes back in left, and maybe start Vaughn by the end of the year. And then they have number 89 baseball prospect, left-handed pitcher Garrett Crotchet, 21 years old. He was the number 11 overall pick in 2020. So he's going to need some time in the minors, but they got some upside there. So let's move on to those Twins. They were a game better than the White Sox, but they lost a little bit in free agency. Jake Odorizzi, still a free agent. Maybe they get him back. I don't think so. They've lost Eddie Rosario. Trevor May, a big bullpen piece, gone to the Mets. Sergio Romo, gone to the A's. Rich Hill, gone to the Rays. Homer Bailey, still a free agent. Marwin Gonzalez to the Red Sox. Alex Avila, gone. Tyler Clippard, gone. So they lost some guys. Cody Guerin, and they added in Alex Colomé, which is nice. Good bullpen piece. He pitched to an 0.81 ERA with the White Sox last year, and you know him from the Rays. They also got Hansel Robles from the Angels, 10 ERA last year, but the year before 2.48 with 10 Ks per 9 if they can get him to come back. They added Andrelton Simmons for shortstop, Matt Shoemaker for that rotation, and Jay Happ as well. So let's look at that lineup. They got Max Kepler, big power guy, 36 bombs in 19. Andrelton Simmons at shortstop, solid defensively. We all know that. Him and Donaldson at short and third, maybe the best defense in baseball at third and short. Donaldson didn't play a lot of games, but the year before, 37 bombs. Nelson Cruz, I mean, what can you say about this guy? He's 40, turning 41, 41 bombs in 2019, 16 in 53 games with a 300 average, on base at 400, 411 WOBA. This guy's insane. But Miguel Sano, this is where it starts to concern me for the White Sox. And this is why, this is where it starts to concern me for the Twins. It's why I like the White Sox a little bit more. Miguel Sano hit 200 last year, went way down from hitting 34 bombs in 19. You do have Alex Kirilloff. We don't know what he can do. He's the number 27 prospect in baseball, great minor league stats. Then you have Jorge Polanco. They're transitioning him to second base because they brought in Simmons, just bad defensively, went down offensively as well. They need him to come back. They have Ryan Jeffers at catcher. It's weird with them at catcher. They had Mitch Garver in there in 19. He was a top 10 catcher, reverted to like a minor league player last year. Now they have Jeffers come in, good minor league stats, did pretty well in the majors in 26 games. And then they have Byron Buxton. He has a 254 average, on base at 267. That's pretty brutal, but he had 13 home runs. We all know he can defend out there with the glove. But 5 through 9, it's a little concerning. I think they'll be fine with Sano and Kirilloff, but you just don't know. What do you think about this lineup?
Yeah, I think for this team, what kind of hurt them was a short season. I think they were kind of starting to play better baseball down the stretch. But you look at all these guys' numbers, though. You look at 1 through 9. I'm going to rattle them off here. I mean, you look at Kepler played 134, Simmons played 103, Donaldson 155, Cruz 120, Sano 105. So you're getting the gist of what I'm saying. I think these guys with a shorter season, they were kind of starting to figure things out slowly but surely, and I think that kind of hurt them only playing 60 games. So, am I concerned about Sano, the big drop off there? Yeah, that's kind of concerning when you go from batting 247 and then it drops a whole just about 50 points to 204. But the production's still there: 13 jacks, 25 RBIs. Weighted runs created plus went down just a bit, but I think you give these guys a full slate of games and they'll be fine. I think they're a patient team. They figure things out. They don't panic when the struggles start to happen. So I think they'll be just fine. It just, you know, can they piece it together throughout the whole 162, which I think they can. So there's question marks surrounding 6, 7, 8, 9. Buxton can play a great outfield. He's quick. I think if he can get on base, he's a great 9-hole guy to flip the lineup over. But I think they're all overall solid lineup. Pitching, I think, is going to be a really, to me, it's shaky. Without the signing of Odorizzi, I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. Does he want to come back to baseball? What's he doing? But yeah, I think pitching is, to me, going to be the biggest question mark surrounding this ball club.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And also on offense, by the way, they have Luis Ariz, kind of like a 300 hitter, no power contact guy. They can mix in there if Polanco keeps not hitting because Ariz better defensively. But yeah, you look at that pitching staff. I'd take the White Sox. I mean, you have Jose Barrios, 4 ERA. He's their number one starter, strikes out about 10 per 9, walks are a little high. Year before, 3.68 ERA. At this point, he's 27. He's out of that range where we can be like, he's a prospect. We got to see his upside. He's been the same guy since he started in the big leagues. At this point, if your ace is a 3.5 ERA guy and above, it's not the best. And when you have Kenta Maeda behind you, which great, he had a great year, 2.70 ERA, almost 11 Ks per 9, almost through a no-hitter. But he had not really been that dominant before. Year before, 4 ERA, so I don't know what exactly you're going to expect. And then after that, I mean, come on. I mean, you got Michael Pineda. He's the most up and down bipolar pitcher in baseball. He'll get suspended, then he'll get injured, then he'll come back and be a Cy Young. Then he'll have like a stretch where he can't pitch. Who knows what you're getting from him? He's 32 now. Then you have Jay Happ, another guy, bipolar. He can go on a stretch where he can't throw a strike, and then he'll go on a stretch where he'll give you 5 innings every start for 2 months. And then Matt Shoemaker, he's been injured for 2 years. So what are you getting in this rotation? Bring Odorizzi back. You know, they also have a prospect, number 81 in baseball, Jordan Balazovic, but he hasn't even pitched in AAA yet. You're not getting any help if you don't get Odorizzi back or swing a trade. And, you know, that bullpen, you lose May, you lose Romo, and your answer is to bring in Colome, which he's good. He pitched under 1 ERA, but you need more than that. Taylor Rogers, he's okay. Tyler Duffy, he's okay, 1.88 ERA, but he's not a guy you're scared of. They didn't win a playoff game. So these are not guys. I mean, they had Romo. They had those guys in their last year. Now they're gone. It's like, Tyler Duffy and, Taylor Rogers, 4 ERA. You're not scared of those guys. So pitching's a weakness for them.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think, you have Barrios in the one hole, 12 starts last year, 4.0 ERA. The Ks per 9, I guess, is good enough. Walks are a little bit high for me, almost at a 4 walks per 9. And then you have Kenta Maeda, who I think should be the number 1 in my opinion, but I'm not the manager. Pineda, like you said, up and down, question mark there surrounding them. Jay Happ, we poked at him last year when he was with the Yankees, up and down as well. And then you have Shoemaker at the 5 hole, which not a bad guy to end your every 5th day starter. And then the bullpen, like you said, you lose pieces. Then your answer is Colome, not bad. He's got great outings at times. Then it seems like he can lapse at any given moment. You have former Ray, saw that firsthand as well. So I think pitching is an issue for them. And I think the White Sox, that's why I would give them the full rounded upper hand, because they have the hitting, they have the pitching that's solidified, and there's not very many questions surrounding them. But for this rotation, if you don't get Odorizzi back, I think that's a big big dagger to the side for this staff as a whole.
Yeah, I completely, because if you have him in there, at least you could say we have 3 guys that can go out there. We know we'll still have to score some runs, but they can give us 5-6 innings. But it's like, man, I don't even know. Like if Maeda reverts to 2019, your 1 and 2 starters are 4 ERA pitchers. It's like you don't have a single dominant guy in there at all. So I don't know. It's really weird. And at this point, if you're a Twins fan, it's like we got to win a playoff series. Fuck a series, even a game. I mean, they got swept by the Yankees, I think 2 years in a row. They lost to the Yankees in the wild card game, then the ALDS. Last year, they lose to the Astros. They got to clutch up, and the reason why is because you go into Houston, and it's like, oh, crap. Well, actually, last year it doesn't really apply because Verlander and Cole were gone. But, I mean, that makes it even worse, actually, that they still couldn't even win a game against the Astros. But year before, you go into the Yankees, you face some of those guys, and your pitcher just can't match up, and that's where you end up losing out. So – that's their next step. If I'm a Twins fan, I'm like, win a playoff game.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where they're doing everything for their fans. They're getting to the playoffs, they're winning games, but it's like one of those things where it's the kind of the choke factor. It's, you're getting there, but you're not winning series, but you're struggling to win a game. So, I mean, look at it. I think for them, the next step is just we gotta reward our fans, and when time matters. Yeah, you can do all this stuff in the regular season. Good for you, golf clap. But when the postseason's the real season, that's when the real baseball starts. That's when you see teams really start to grind it out, and that's when you get everyone's best. And when it comes to October, they've laid an egg the last couple of years. So I think that's the next step for them, and that's really a driving factor of when you want to land big free agents. Hey, they can't win playoff games. Why am I going to go there? Can they get any help? But I think if they can win a series, then people go, okay, maybe they've taken the next step, and now we can get big tier guys to come in and maybe help us get to the promised land. But I think you just got to look at the bigger picture, get to the playoffs again this year, and then hopefully then go from there. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, even the White Sox won a playoff game, and they played Oakland. So, I mean, they won the division, theoretically the better team. Yeah, they just got to do that. And prospect-wise, they have the number 7 prospect in baseball, shortstop Royce Lewis, 21 years old. So Simenes is just a stopgap for Lewis in the near future. They have outfielder Trevor Larnach, 24 years old. Maybe he gets a shot this year. And then we mentioned Balazovic. So, yeah, that'll wrap up our central preview. I guess we'll do our rankings now. I've got White Sox, Twins, Royals, Indians, Tigers.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll just shake up. I'll just right from there. I'll flip the Tigers and the Royals. Other than that, we've got
Royals in last.
No, Royals and wait. So did you have? So I'm gonna go twin. So no, Sox, Twins, Indians. Yeah, we had basically the same thing. Yeah, because I forgot the Indians are in there. So I mean, as of right now, it's all chalk. I mean, I think we'll do our quarter poll rankings and then we'll go from there. So I mean, these will change, but on paper, I think we've had no disagreements from the first 2 division previews so far.
Yeah, I mean, these are kind of clear cut divisions, and yeah, I mean that's really what goes into it. I mean, the NL Central is just weak, and the AL Central's got 2 picks, and one's got more strengths than the other. So, all right, let's go to the top 10 shortstops. And this is where, I mean, you could have a lot of opinions on this one. I'll just start off. I'll say I left off Marcus Semien. He's a second baseman now. He also had a down year anyway. Javier Baez, I left him off. I mean, he was the worst hitter on the Cubs last year. I don't know how you put him in as a top 10 shortstop, especially because even last year I was saying he was overrated. And then I moved Jorge Polanco off as well because he's a second baseman now as well. I left off Didi. He had a good year, but just borderline. I left off Willie Adames, another guy, just kind of average, not really top 10. I mean, you're a Rays fan. I don't think you would even say Adames is top 10. And then Dansby Swanson just missing, and I actually just took him off in place for Carlos Correa at number 10. And the reason I put him in there, it's like, okay, 2020. The thing that gets me though is like 2019. Who knows if they were cheating or not? Played 75 games, stats were through the roof, and then he comes in this year below league average, 264, only hit 5 home runs. Then he rakes in the playoffs, and it's like, okay, what are we getting here? But nonetheless, we all know he's an all-world talent, cheating or not. So talent-wise, he's better than Swanson. Swanson had an up year, just do it again. So I got Correa at 10. I have Glaber at number 9. Down year offensively, didn't hit for power, but still advanced stats wise, he was better than Correa. He's not as good defensively as Correa, but Glaber did trim down in the offseason. Weight wise, he was a little bit pudgy. too stocky for a shortstop, and he made a nice play. Did you see that one, or that was the day before? He made a nice play. Did you see it?
No, I didn't get a chance to check that out. No.
Yeah, I think that was the day before you went. And then the number 8, I have Beau Bashette. Some might think it's a little early, but MLB Network had him on theirs. All 3 analysts on that show had him on. He's a 300 hitter, it seems, that's 46, that's 75 games total. He's hit about 16 home runs, 40-something RBIs. So, that's 75 games. Maybe he's a 30 home run type of guy with a full season. Advanced stats are great. Defense is great. Now he's in a lineup with George Springer, so that should help a lot. I've got Tim Anderson at number 7. We talked about him earlier. Just a 330 hitter at this point with power, good defense. This might shock some people. I got Lindor at 6, and maybe you won't be shocked, Steve, because you've heard me talk about him being overrated. Mm-hmm. I mean, last year, 2019, 349 WOBA, 114 weighted run created plus, 32 bombs. That's great. But his on base was a little low. His defense is spectacular. I love it. But advanced stats a little low. But this year, 2020, 258, 8 home runs, on base low again. He was exactly league average as an offensive player. So can you attribute that to Carlos Santana having a down year, only having Jose Ramirez and Reyes in there to help you? You put him in the Mets with Alonso and McNeil and Conforto and all those guys. I think he definitely will have a good year, but I can't discount that from the top 5 guys that, they're there statistically all the time. So Lindor, just do it again for me. And there's going to be Mets fans. They're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me? You kept Lindor out of your top 5. His defense, he's an MVP. Look at the stats, guys. I mean, it's right there. I mean, he's not all that when you look at that. Number 5, I got Story. He's there every single year. I mean, 35 bombs, 85 RBIs in 19. Last year, 11 and 28, 289, 370 WOBA. He's got great defense. Once he gets traded out of Colorado, let's see. Number 4, Corey Seager. World Series champ. He can absolutely rake. His playoffs, 18 games in the playoffs, 330, 8 home runs in 18 games, 20 RBIs in 18 games, 475 WOBA with a 205 weighted run created plus. Like, he was beyond amazing in the playoffs. And then he's still at 307, 15 bombs in the regular season, 394 WOBA. I mean, he was an MVP type player. No one wants to recognize that. He's number 4. Number 3, I have Trey Turner. Nobody notices. He hit 335 last year, 12 bombs, 394 on base, advanced stats through the roof. I've got Bogarts at number 2. The dude hits every year. People complain about his defense. I don't really care. He's a 300 hitter every year, 33 bombs in 19, 11 last year. He walks, advanced stats through the roof. And then this guy's going to be number 1 for the next 20 years. Fernando Tatis. I don't think I even need to explain it. MVP, defense, has the contract, on a good team. He's all you want.
Yep, and he just hit a grand slam too. So that's what I just sent you that on Twitter. I sent you the text. He just smoked that thing to left center. But yeah, no, I'll go from 1 to 10. Tatis at number 1, like you said. Number 2, I got Xander Bogaerts. Like I said, this guy is phenomenal on the field. Can hit. Advanced stats are up there with the best in the league. Number 3, I have Lindor. I still think he's a great defensive talent. Can hit for. I think change of scenery out of Cleveland too. And now you'll have some help. I have at number 3, Trevor Story at number 4, Corey Seager at number 5, Carlos Correa at number 6. I like what he does. I'm high on the Astros guys. I still think they can hit. They've been around. They've been doing it. Number 7, Trey Turner. Number 8, Javier Baez. Number 9, Beau Bashette. And number 10, Tim Anderson. So that's my that round. What?
You put Baez in there, not Glaber?
Nah, I can't do that. I think if Glaber cannot be a fruitcake on the field and stop loafing, then yeah, I'll put him out there in 10. But no, I think the shortstop, you can throw in a lot of guys too. There's a lot of fringe guys that could be in. But if Glaber goes off this year, I think if he steps up defensively. I think if he limits the errors, I still think he's top 10. I think he's right around there, but that's just, I kind of did this last second. We decided to do this on today, but if I were to refine it and go and jumble the stats up and really dissect it, I think he cracks my top 10. But off the top of my head, this is who I threw down there. I looked at some basic stats, and yeah, so that's my top 10 shortstops as of right now.
We'll see. I mean, 63 weighted run created plus for Baez, 238 on base. I don't know. We'll see about that. So, I mean, that's our top 10 shortstop. We had a little disagreement on the order there. And I think, there's some guys, the Royce Lewis's, other prospects out there, maybe Andre Simenes pans out for Cleveland. There's some guys shortstop prospect wise that can pan out. We'll see. But for now, that's kind of the top 10 for both of us, kind of the same mix of guys. And we'll see if I agree with you though about Gleyber's defense. I mean, he can't get anything that's not routine, and even routine, it's a struggle sometimes. And, I just look at the 38 bombs from the year before, and, if he can get back to that. And I think there was like a half season split. The first half of the season, he struggled offensively. Second half, he was back to being Gleyber. So we'll see what he can be. But those are our top 10 shortstops. So we'll have another one of these next week. What division are we doing?
Say we going out west.
All right, we'll do AL West next week.
Because we leave the East for the best. The East is the best. So I think the AL East is so. That's always our best. Well, we have two fan bases out of there. So we'll do AL East last. But let's head out west next week.
All right, we'll do AL West next week. Top 10 left fielders as well next week. It's a little bit of a shallower group, but we're still going to rank all the positions. Steve and I are about to record Strictly Hockey literally right after this with Adam, and we haven't done one of those in a while. Just all of us are all over the place. Steve, you're going to see FAU Baseball play Florida tomorrow. Do you have any last messages before you go out there?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm confident. We'll go get those motherfuckers. I hate them. Anyone who knows me, knows I hate Florida with a passion. It's something about them. I just everything they're about, just like them. I'll be repping the FAU gear from head to toe, and we'll be there. Hopefully, they get the win. Wishing the boys luck, and hopefully they come home with a top 10 win, fringe top 5 win. They're number 6, so. Would be awesome if they win tomorrow night. I'll be going to get a few drinks, and I'll rub it in my girlfriend's face because she'll be at the game with me. So, and she's a Florida fan and goes to school there. So
there we go.
Make it even sweeter. So there we go.
All right. So that'll do it. You guys can watch this on YouTube. You can find it on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P, and on Facebook and Instagram at Strictly Sports Productions. By the way, the YouTube link is in the description below. You can either do that or type out Strictly Sports Productions on YouTube. It'll come up in channels. And then under playlists, all the podcasts are organized and you can find them pretty easily. So for Steve Cash and I am Jacob Brown, and we will see you next week.